Welcome to Massive Beers. We do the beer stuff here. Kind of excited. Get all willy-nilly with my finger right there. Kind of excited for this for one particular reason. Well, a couple reasons. One, other half. We can dig on the other half. We've been digging on them actually quite a bit as of late. So, their beers are really tasty. It's what this beer is made out of. Which kind of has me ultra curious. Let's dive into it. This is other half. Citra today, tomorrow, and forever. Okay, they just did their Citra week. This is part of it. This was canned on the 24th of July. That makes this 2 days over a month old. It is 8%. Okay. Citra Cryo. It's a Citra-based beer. Double dry hopped. Its other half. How could it not be? Imperial West Coast India Pale Ale. An all Citra West Coast IPA. I'm intrigued. It says here an Imperial West Coast IPA highlighting a single hop variety, Citra, bright and crisp, with focused lychee, orange, tropical fruits, and a hint of dank. West Coast Citra. All Citra. IPA. Okay. It's clear. Now, clear doesn't mean that it's West Coast. I don't know if that's what they're going for here, but I'm kind of curious because, when you think about the hops that are, tantamount to what is the core of a West Coast IPA, not really hitting Citra, not really the top of that list, and to do it all Citra, I think it's very, very cool. Flavor-wise is alright, doing kind of retro 80s kind of thing going on. And as far as beer goes today, in today's beer world, that be clear beer. Of course, it's not clear. There's a bit of haze to it, but man, it's about as clear as you're going to get from other half, unless it's a lager or something like that. Beautiful, golden, hueish, glowing orb of a beer. White as white could be had. We're off to a very, very good start. The nose, hopefully knows. Let's see. Not really getting any kind of West Coast IPA vibes off of the nose. Really, it is coming off very much as an old school East Coast IPA. Citrus, a candied, slightly candied kind of citrus, a little saccharine sweet kind of. Again, I say this every time now because I hate people. Because I know you can't smell sweet, but you can get the precursor sweet. Anyway, so you get this kind of like just hard candy kind of sweetness, as opposed to just like orange juice or whatever. But, you're usually expecting something about outside of that with a West Coast IPA. But it has this kind of nice, kind of sweet, crystal malty kind of vibe to it. With citrus being all over the place. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Okay. First things first. It has the drinkability, the mouthfeel of what you'd expect from a really well done West Coast IPA. Crisp, relatively clean. There's a little bit of, not density is not the word, but you can tell there's a little bit of a residual particulate floating around here, so it doesn't have that ultra snappy finish you expect from a really kind of world-class West Coast IPA, but it's very, very close. It's a bitterness here. Very much kind of like almost like a caramelized, sauteed citrus pithiness. So you zest something like one of my favorite foods to make is skirt steak. And you do there's a couple things involved, obviously salt and pepper, or actually do like a sauce with anchovies and stuff like that. But the big thing on it is zesting lime onto it. And lime to me, or a lemon even, when you use it in savory food, has this kind of punch to it that is akin to what I'm getting here as far as how it shows. And then it's a little less juice, a little bit more zest. Hopefully that comes off and makes sense. And that almost like, if you were to take the zest of an orange and then soak it in water and then drink that, that's the vibe. And maybe put a little bit of sugar in there so it isn't overly bittering. So it's got this big, huge citrus component to it. It's got that little zingy kind of bittering that's a little bit zesty. This is not a West Coast IPA, though. I mean, they're taking a lot of liberties with that. It just, you gotta have that dank, man. They talk about dank in here, and to me, it's more that zesty, pithy thing. But I was hoping they'd pull it off, and they've gotten really, really close. Like from the malt base to the mouthfeel to the way the beer drinks, even the citrus portion of the show, like I said, that, not that citrus is foreign to a West Coast IPA. It's definitely in there. But it's like, yeah, West Coast IPA hangs its hat on ranky-dank piney, not ranky-dank citrus rind or pith. It's ranky-dank piney. Whether you're getting resin, whether you're getting big pine, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like without that, you can't complete that puzzle. And so you can't complete the puzzle. You just can't do it. I'm surprised they called it this, because it's almost like, again, I take this with a grain of salt. It's almost like when lambic, United States people use the word lambic on their beer. I'm not saying it's that level of offense, even though I think all that shit's silly to begin with. It's kind of like, well, just because you call it a West Coast IPA doesn't make it a West Coast IPA. Anyway. It's a tasty beer. Like, if you just pump the brakes on the semantic bullshit, it's just really tasty. It reminds me very much of an old school East Coast IPA. Before haze was a thing, and West Coast was IPA was big, and these East Coasters are looking for their market share, their footprint, their fingerprint, and stuff, and just these burgeoning hops that come out, and your non-Cascade, Chinook, that kind of thing going on, and you have the Citras of the world, you have these Simcoes of the world, you have these beer hops that come out that you can massage and manipulate to this kind of orange citrus character. This is very much what was that beer. That was the East Coast IPA where they're trying to put their fingerprint on it. It just ends up being that, East Coast creates New England haze, and that just kind of trumps that out of the way, and, the story's been written. So, in a sense, if we strip that name from it, if we take that West Coast moniker off of this beer, it's a really cool beer because the way it's made, the malt base, the cleanliness of the beer, the crispness of the beer, the drinkability of the beer, the way the citrus shows up, everything about it is very, very fun. It's just you can't separate yourself from the word West Coast, and that's where it kind of, if I served you a hamburger and I said I was giving you spaghetti, you'd be pissed off. I know, it's a bit of a reach for an analogy, but hey. It's my show. I'll say weird shit. But no, I think it's very, very tasty. I think it's very delicious. And I'm glad I got a whole food pack of it. Because honestly, this is my kind of beer. I don't know what else I want to say. All the citrus are belong to us. Crisp, clean, drinkable. You can tell you're drinking something 8%. But you kind of forget about it. So it's a dangerous beer. Just don't expect the West Coast in this. Is it one of the better double IPAs I've had? Is like, yes. Mount Rushmore status, no, but very close to the top. It's just some just hit me a little better. Some that I've reviewed over the past couple weeks from other half have done me better. So it's almost like in the Mount Rushmore's other half double IPAs, it might not even get on there. It's some of the great stuff I've had from them. Value and availability, it's probably hit right around $20. 4-pack is kind of other half. That's how things are. Off shelf, and leave you with if you like what we like this. If you love West Coast IPA, but you wish it was citrus instead of pine, you will love this beer. So there you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Other half, if you've been to their 47.5, 365, 245 million breweries. If you have, let me know which one's your favorite. Have you been to this brewery? It might be Brooklyn, actually. I don't see anything written on here about Oh, no, it's DC. Brewed and other high brew company, DC. There's nothing on the bottom that actually says... Oh, no, it just says DC right in front of my face. Have you been to DC, John? Have you been to the other ones? Have you had this beer? Have you had this batch? Have you had all those things? Let's talk about it down there. So hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a little bit of not West Coast IPA right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.